Our next participant is Tom Buchanan, whose bio intro is actually a little poem, which I kind of liked. 50 years from the Oregon dairy farm, schooled in a job they can't shop overseas, English words. Working 18 years with the Jet City's aluminum birds, greenpeacing nuclear waste, failing Earth's pleas to omit. It's time for him to do politics and write poetry a bit. Try on these two. Tom?
In terms of thinking about this today, the interesting thing to me is that most of us in this room know who the perpetrator is. We know in the United States, a few of us do, and in Japan, they know more than they have before. And basically the job of the government has been to protect the perpetrator. And their response to the crisis is one which is modify it, cool things down, not let this out to the public because the public needs to be protected. And then once things cool down, they can go back to supporting nuclear power. And it seems to be a repeated scenario at every manufactured or accidental crisis. We've had, obviously, Fukushima has informed us all, and we return to the Hanford site and we look at it again and see that we are still facing leaks. We still have the same spent fuel pools at what's now, used to be called, the Whoops facility is now called Energy Northwest. They cram the fuel rods, the irradiated fuel rods, into the pools, and they're above ground, and there's live water pumping through. And if there's even a minor earthquake over in Hanford, that stuff can explode just as well as any of the Fukushima plants did. So, when we take a look at this, and as far as I'm concerned, I agree with Steve that science and art informs us back and forth. But activism also informs us a great deal. And one of the things that I think a lot of us in this room do is we've taken an extra step. And that is that we want to make something right again. We want to see if we can solve this, if we can take this issue of nuclear power, like the Germans. The Germans have essentially, after their response to Chernobyl, like many other countries, but especially Germany, has really radically reformed the whole issue of relying on primary coal and oil for their nation's energy. And they're on a path to shut down nuclear power. And it's a real path that we haven't even approached yet, and the Japanese haven't either. But we have some examples of beautiful energy out there that can work. So, comment on my two poems that I'm going to read. I think everybody that's read and painted so far for this exhibit has had some personal experience with Hanford. We've wrapped ourselves in some way around this. Growing up there, for me it was Greenpeace taking a boat with a bunch of activists up to Columbia, the Alcyon. And at the time we thought by the time we got up there that we would be shot at. There was really some serious feeling about what could happen when we go up there as Greenpeace activists and have a community affair where we're informing people about the dangers at Hanford. And it turns out they loved us. And in fact, all of our fears were not well founded. There may have been one or two people that were expounding on the fact that we don't want to see any of these Greenpeacers up here, but the rest of the community.
When was that?
That was in 1985. And it was a time when other people were really not informed. So the whole Hanford thing has come in waves in many ways. And that's a very important part. So this first poem, called Reaching the Columbia, is based a lot on my experience and a lot, as most poetry and poets would say, some sense of dream, some sense of speculation, a different point of view, a different perspective. And here's what came out. You, specter, posing as my river, shallows stoop to dams upstream. Can I mop shoals, riffles clean? Soils lure salmon to hatch. Tracks point to the attack. Face down, atomic remains float. Dredged pain from a 70-year nuclear chain. My friend turns away. Old scars still cast their sway. Willows spread at Hiroshima's Ota, cousins of Columbia's mulberries. Tree-lost banks, wounded, leached. Clusters at spoil banks, once sap-fed. Songbirds wing over roots, bled. Kuyoko sees faces in the water. We search the cliffs, Hanford Reach, I to find unfelt nuclides beached. She with slipped-off skin from child's frantic arms. Shall I show you how we dressed our wounds? Manhattan reached Hanford, now breached. Plutonium frolics in the Columbia. Water's edge, where poisons percolate, fish test positive. Pluto invades their fat. Hanford claims, oh, we don't test for that. Once your waters had spine, ice floods churned its glacial brine. Locomotive flows tore the scab land. Grinding falls cut channels new. Columbia's riverscapes engined true. Where are the people who worked here? I give her photos. 100,000 hired, avoiding war, working the area. Hopeful faces at tent cities' cots, from weathered farms to a secret spot. Coyotes, deer, see us, turn away. Leery pelicans, cormorants fly. Honest, decent humans, she and I. Animals flee up teal-fled creeks. Our reactors, welded shut, still leak. Thank you. I got one more. This is called Hanford Burial Explosions. It's also an attempt to merge science with poetry. It's maybe a failed attempt, I don't know. It's shorter. How do we stir the world awake to this basalt-gripped land? Like you, desert wind, who uproots and rolls the sage, incite us to collide with Hanford wounds snagged in the dirt pan. Ice Age granite dust married with plutonium, hell's to pay. The sticky particles love dirt, fat, lung, and bone. Plutonium's palatial home, semi-arid Hanford. The family roams. Dust and water carry the atomic scramble. Geiger counters chatter, sings of the earth plumes. Where they started, how many miles they've ambled. They fly with little wing. Skin bars them from breezing in, but breathe a speck of this death with air. Lungs, blood, becomes an open snare. Veins pump to liver, fats, or the speck stays, lung hidden. Particles handcuffed to our living places. Microsieverts bomb our membranes. Cells go haywire with broken DNA chains. Scarland charges and charts the glacier's flow, kept flooding Columbia's basin. Mountains leapt like goats from locomotive waters. From torrents, pure, extinct, new channels now sprout spurs. The river bends anew to a military's dream. Everything can be accomplished by engineers, led by Brahmins, the physicists supreme. Let us now bow to the team, our nuclear industrial state, DuPont, GE, Westinghouse, those who hiss, Boeing and Bechtel, who externalize the risk.